can continue to grow here in Northeast Ohio with a broad spectrum of people and professions that see the promise in biomimicry. So I'm going to add two other places. The Netherlands and South Africa are sort of right behind us as leaders in the biomimicry network development. And then there's also probably about 10 other really active networks: Chicago, Mexico City, the Puget Sound area, San Francisco, Spain, Switzerland. There's people all over the world that are sort of waking up to the possibilities. So what I want to tell you about is our relationship with Biomimicry 3.8. I call it the home office in Montana, and they have about 30 people that work there, that work all over the world, and have become very closely working with us, so much so that I've started getting emails, can you find a speaker, but it's New York City. And I don't think unless someone pays that we're going to send someone to New York City, but we so appreciate being real collaborators with Biomimicry 3.8. We are the first group to sign a memorandum of understanding with them, and we're just exploring how we will share resources, and we hope to sort of lay the groundwork for the other networks that are developing around the world. And we're also working together to explore project strategies. And I know that there was an idea on a conference call about curriculum development with Biomimicry 3.8, Hawaii, and Northeast Ohio. I mean, we would never have known about Hawaii without Biomimicry 3.8. So we are very happy to be one of their collaborators. We are looking to, we have projects that we've outlined for the next couple of years. We want to grow our network, and we really want Northeast Ohio to continue to lead, and hopefully with your help and interest we can do that. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions for any of our speakers? The science questions go that way. I can do network stuff.
I have a couple.
Gina?
Yeah, so what is the relationship with the Cuyahoga Valley to the network? I know there was talk about being a learning lab for a while.
Oh yeah, well when I worked for Cuyahoga County, we worked on a project to how to apply the theories of sustainability, and we used the Cuyahoga River Valley between Cleveland and Akron as our laboratory. And one of the things we thought would be cool, like, well, let's make this a living, learning laboratory. Nobody really knows how to do the real nuts and bolts on the ground work of how to be sustainable. And so we thought, well, if we drew a loose boundary around a geographical area and understood who lived there, who worked there, what its natural systems were, then we could start to really, take sustainability to another level. Changes at Cuyahoga County have left that project sort of on hiatus. So, but hopefully it's one of those things where a seed was planted, and biomimicry was actually brought to our attention as a tool for sustainability through that project. So like E4S, Entrepreneurs for Sustainability, that it decayed in a natural term, and you all came up out of that as gains. This biomimicry work is sort of the same thing from the Cuyahoga Valley Initiative.
Is that the Cuyahoga Valley National Park? Is it the Cuyahoga County? Who was the group that you
The Cuyahoga Valley Initiative was a project of Cuyahoga County. Yeah. And then the National Park was a partner, as well as the city of Akron. Jerry's behind you there. He was, we tried to involve everyone, Metro Park serving Summit County. So it was a project, an initiative that was funded by the county commissioners and the Gunn Foundation a few years back.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
Sir, Gina's question is really a great one in that it allows us to talk a little bit about the paradigm of biomimicry. If you've ever heard Jean talk or you've read her book, has anybody read the book? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so one of the themes that's in there, and one of the themes that she talks about a lot, is the genius of place. And so to go to the Living Learning Laboratory of Place-Based Education and Research, there are many organisms that live here, and they're embedded in systems that say something about what works where we are, given the kind of sunlight we get, given the amount of precipitation, given all the interactors at the system level. And so part of the answer to your question is, this is a living learning laboratory to find those geniuses and to use those as inspiration to solve problems. You know, one of the great things about this place is, it was, before we got here, it was about 90%, well, it was a large fraction of it was wetland. And wetlands do a lot of things for us that we try to do artificially to deal with water surges, et cetera, that if we learn more about how wetlands work, we could deal with some of those issues. So studying those natural systems in that place can help us deal with some of our most pernicious problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that's more eco-mimicry?
No, so, well, I mean, I think it's okay to call it that, but biomimicry is meant to be totally scale independent. So I study how geckos stick, and there the functions and the form are at the scale of nanometers, so billionths of a meter. But you could study how an ecosystem, how nutrient and energy exchanges occur, and use that to figure out how companies ought to interact with their raw material in streams and their waste outstreams. So it's the paradigm is scale independent. It can happen at the smallest scales that you can imagine, and it can happen at the largest scales. And in fact, the best way for it to happen is to happen at all those scales. And I'm an ecologist, and I would just argue that ecology includes all those scales anyway.
The University of Akron and Cleveland Institute of Art partnered to do this PhD program. So tell me and tell us about what is the dynamic about artists and scientists working together that's really accelerated this?
Well, I'll take the first part, and then someone else will have to take something. So I am about a third of the way through the biomimicry specialty program that Bill and Daphne told you about. And one of the things that's really key to biomimicry, it's not just about biologists. That it's biologists, it's designers, really creative thinkers, engineers, and then people with a business mindset as well. You might not, have an idea of, how a cell membrane works, but you may be able to be that spark that takes somebody else's idea to market. And so all four of those professions are integral to making biomimicry happen. And then with regards to Cleveland Institute of Art, somebody who's... I guess they voted Emily, right?
Yeah,
they all were looking at Emily.
Well, just to give an example of collaborations we've had with them so far, this past semester, we were up at CIA once a week working with undergraduate industrial designers on a project where we were trying to create a biomimetic solution to sports-related head injury, and in particular trying to create some sort of safety gear that is better at preventing concussion, which is a huge problem and highly politicized problem. So yeah, there's things that you have to learn about how designers work versus how biologists work and the sort of methods they're used to taking. But I think that's something that is a obstacle in any interdisciplinary interaction, and when you can get that running smoothly, that's when great things happen. So.
I just talked to Tori McMillan, who is another biomimicry specialist, and just today she was asking me how my class was going, and she's a biologist by training, and she's like, oh, that creative part always got me. I thought, didn't we decide this? And then the designers would be like, oh, let's try something else. So it really is, it's really like influencing everyone that's involved. Somebody?
What about in a case we have a biorobotics lab? Are you interacting with them?
We are trying to work with Case in engineering right now. And then there's also the Fowler Center for Sustainable, so we're in there, but I haven't heard of the robotics, so maybe we'll talk.
They have a lawnmower that's emulating a cockroach.
Oh, really? Because I need examples
With
for my
feeler
homework.
things, you know, stuff. Robotic one.
All right, very good. Any other ideas? Yes.
What if I'm a small business or a startup, kind of an entrepreneur with a product or service, and I wanted to access you guys because, say, I have a particular problem
Yeah.
with my product or service. Do you do any consulting? Is there a way for the small
Well,
guy to access you?
We are in the process of making that happen. So we know that our corporate partners are very important, but we also know that, you know, people working out of their garage and kitchen table are just as important. So maybe we can talk afterwards and we'll figure out how to make some connections for you. At some point we'll have it formal, but we're still in the development stages.
If, just to add a little bit to that, if you have ideas, so if you're speaking from the perspective of that kind of person or entity, you might have some really valuable perspectives about how something like that would work. And so talking to Carol and getting a conversation going about what your needs are and how and what would be useful to you could be useful to you and to us. Because certainly we're trying to be a resource at lots of different on lots of different levels and at lots of different scales, including the scale you just mentioned.
Are we done?
We're just beginning.
Oh, good job. Well, thanks very much for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you very much
We
for
really
coming.
appreciate coming down.
So, just to wrap it up, we had, just to let you guys know, if anybody's new to the group, GAINS is Greater Akron Innovations and Sustainability. We are all people who have the value of sustainability that we want to see advanced. We're doing this together. As Carol said, a lot of volunteer hours. It's a volunteer organization. It's not a 501c3. So we want to thank our hosts tonight who have graciously allowed us to be here and have these sessions where we really just want to bring these innovative ideas, give them a platform so we can engage with them. This is how it starts. We have to make the connections. You know, networks are the way the world works these days. It's always been the way it worked. We've just formalized it and we realize it, and it's a very biomimicry kind of way of advancing ideas, and that's what we're doing here. So you guys are really important to be a part of that, and when you have something you want to bring to the group, please make contact with us because we want to elevate this. And just to make a connection to what Carol said about the Cauga Valley, we have some people in this room, Tony and Sabrina and Samuel, who have a vision for taking the learning lab that started with the Biomimicry network to apply it at the front door to the national park, which is what Akron has, one of our major assets. We are, if you think about it, life has been regenerated into our area because of the river. We have a towpath now. That towpath is a recreation area that people are coming to, and our life source is starting back up from cleaning the river and bringing life back to the river and then back to the towpath. And then industry and the economy is going to be affected by all that. And we would like to see, down where the AppTech building is being redeveloped, to make that space a place where regenerative life is the idea that we learn about. We learn how to redo our infrastructure and redo our sewer system in a way that takes care of the natural resources and mimics and follows the principles of life and water and how it should flow. And if you could help me out with that, or if that's enough. But that is a big vision we have for here, and we're working on it. And we're taking the necessary steps to get that going. So you can talk more with Samuel and Sabrina about that, or Tony, or me, and
I'd just like to pick up on the comments of this wise gentleman here who started talking about the scale of biomimicry, and it kind of was a liberating thought process for me that certain things can exist on the back of a gecko stick and that can also be applicable to urban placemaking. You know, it's good design that permeates. You see it in a small application and you amplify it to larger scale. And I appreciated that comment about anything more than what I've heard tonight. Not that we didn't all have solid speakers. They were all very good, of which great accolades should be awarded to our speakers tonight. However, the thought process still remained that lessons are to be learned across the board. And you can apply them to the many different problems that you're encountering across the board. Everybody's got some little thing that they're working on, and good design will permeate into massive scales from the smallest of them. So I found that to be very liberating, and this is why I come to these events, is to learn. I'm on a learning curve. I'm trying to get up there. I'm trying to reach the summit, much as we've referred to Akron as that city of the future, that bright lighting lampstand on the hill. But the particular project she's referring to down at North and Howard is actually a new district of energy known as, it's North and Howard, so it'd be appropriate, we'd call it NoHo. NoHo. And so, you know, that's an entry point to our trailhead that liberates us into the Cuyahoga River Valley, where all of these great life lessons can be learned on maybe the smallest of scale, on a caterpillar's back, or on the wings of a butterfly. But these are the type of principles that we'll be taking with us as we go about and try to solve the equation that's set for us today.
so anybody.